Hi, I'm Dave from High Scale Models, and this is my video build of the Tamiya T34 76 tank, which is the first armour that I've attempted. So sit back, enjoy, and let me know what you think.
Hi everyone, thanks for getting back to the channel. So started this build off 2 or 3 weeks ago, and like I said in a video that I did about that time, that I just had a big interest in armour, so I wanted to give this one a go. So I bought a couple of Tamiya kits and thought I'd start with the T34, with it being one of the most famous tanks in the Second World War, one of the most infamous ones certainly. So picked the kit up from a local shop and got going on this one straight away. So as you can see, I just followed the instructions really. Like I say, I've never really done the tank before, so started off with all the wheels, got all those put together, off the sprues, sanded down, smoothed out, glued together, and then started getting those all ready for spraying. And again, this being a Tamiya kit, everything went together really smoothly. And again, being new to this, hadn't dealt with those little rubber sort of holding plugs that you put on the wheels, which were really brilliant. Really enjoyed those. Really helped sort of get things together easy and keep together, and also allowing you to change them as well, which was brilliant. So yeah, here we are, just finishing off the wheels and just basically getting everything ready to get into the spray booth. So now onto the main part of the armour itself, the actual hull. This again, that a little bit fiddly just for me with my sort of knackered old hands here. But basically, I've decided to get all the exterior sort of hooks, support points, everything else on the outside before I started actual painting. And again, with this being Tamiya, everything went together really, really nicely. I don't think this is a particularly brand new molding or anything like that, but the detail on the hull itself and all the parts is really nice. And like I say, Tamiya is Tamiya, and it just tends to go together very, very well. So here you can see I was having a bit of a battle with this screw, which holds in sort of the axle for the front wheel, the very front wheel on the tracks. And that's just, again, not because it's particularly hard to put in, just I've got sort of damaged old hands and I struggle to get it in there. So eventually I did get past this point and we did get this screw in. And the screw itself, I initially thought was for just holding this track in place, and it isn't. What I didn't realise was it was if the track is too loose, once you fit the actual track itself, you can unscrew this and sort of stretch out the axle a little bit just to tighten up the track, which is a nice little touch as well, without having to obviously pull everything apart. You can just do it with that one screw. So with the outside here, you've got like little things like an antenna, at the base of the antenna, which is that part there. You can see just in front of that and to the left, the sort of the gunner, machine gun, the sort of bow gunner, and then the other main parts that were going on were things like the engine cover that you can see here, which I was doing a bit of a dry fit of. I think you can get quite a lot of aftermarket parts for things like this, where you can get a photo etch for the grills and things if you want to add a bit more sort of realism to it. I probably will do that with some of the other kits. I didn't with this one because, like I said, I just wanted to make sure that, with it being the first armour that I've done, that it was something I would enjoy. Yeah, so I just went basic kit for this one. So now putting together the main gun from the tank itself, fairly straightforward. You can see all the bits required there on the screen. Fit it straight together. It does have a moving mechanism. You can sort of elevate and lower the gun barrel, so you've got to be careful which parts you glue in here because you do have that movement. So all I was doing was basically putting it together and then constantly checking to make sure that I still had the movement in the barrel that I needed. But like I say, it was very straightforward to do. Nothing fiddly at all really here. And when it came to putting the turret together, there's this 3 or 4 parts, nothing too complex again. There's some lovely detail on the outside of the turret here, which you can't really see because I haven't zoomed in that far. Obviously, the T34 tank was made very quickly. It was made en masse, and it wasn't particularly refined. It wasn't all lovely smooth, chiseled away. It was very, very rough and ready. It served a purpose. much different to the German tanks, which were much more heavily designed. So yeah, there's that detail's been captured on the turret and the kit, and it is really nice. You can go further than that if you look online. There are quite a few videos where they put quite a few builders put extra sort of layer of, not like sprue glue, but like almost like a paste on the outside, and ruffle it up with a brush just to make it look more sort of mottled and dimpled, that you can really increase the surface area on that. But again, like I say, this is my first time. I just wanted to go with the kit, so yeah, just putting the turret together, putting the main gun in now, and then just a few little checks, make sure it's still elevating up and down, and then that was all done, and it was a case of getting everything ready to go into the spray booth. So for this, I wanted to not make it look like a weathering masterpiece. Again, I just wanted to do to sort of dip my toe in the water with armour and see how I found it. So what I've done is the kit itself, when I've presented it, you'll see at the end of the video, it's got a bit of mud in it, it's got a bit of weathering on it, it's got a bit of aging on it, a bit of chipping, etc., but nothing over the top. So it looks like, I don't know, it's just got the battleground or something like that, however you want to look at it. So yeah, you'll see that in a moment. So this was the last stage for the main part of the body. So the base of the hull, the top, and the turret and the wheels, and they're now all ready for the spray booth. So I'm trying out a new primer today on this, which is the Mr. Hobby Accurus Black Surfacer 1000. Heard a lot about it. It's been recommended, so I thought I'd give it a go. And it came out lovely. I'm trying to show as best I can on the camera here. But basically, the finish on it was absolutely brilliant. It was so smooth. And I think this is probably going to be my go-to primer now if I'm using blacks. I haven't tried out their other primers yet, which I probably will, but for black, I'll definitely be using this for now, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. It was so easy to use. It's about a 70% thinner, 30% primer mix for the airbrush, and I think I'm at 20 psi here. And it went down so well. I would highly recommend this stuff. I should probably also see here that while using this primer, the airbrush didn't clog once. A couple of previous brands that I've tried have clogged and repeatedly had to be. I was constantly cleaning the airbrush off, fiddling around with the pressure to try and get it to work. But with this stuff, it just went straight down with absolutely no issues. As long as I got that 70-30% blend, it was working fine. So as you can see here, just finishing off the rest of the model really. So given the figure a coating of the primer, and then I moved on to the turret and the main part of the body as well. And again, this primer was used throughout. And as you can see here, it's very sort of light coat to start with that I'm doing, just to give it a grip. And then I've sort of left it for a few seconds, and I've come back and put a much heavier coat on. And again, like you see there, how easily that's going down. It's not spitting, it's not blotching or anything. And it was exactly the same all over the tank. So once I'd finished the tank itself, what I did was I went back to the figure that you saw me paint a few seconds ago, and just directly from above gave it a coat of, or not a coat, but a sort of dash of white, just to pick out the highlights. So yeah, holding it perpendicular to the airbrush. So obviously the top of the hat, top of the shoulders, upper part of the arms will get more paint than the recesses on the moulding. And this was going to be the base for painting the figure using the glazing method, which again, as I've said too many times now in the video, probably I've never done before. So this is a whole new ball game for me. Got a couple of mates who are war gamers, Dom, my mate Dom, and my mate Sam, and I've spoken to both of them about this, and this is how they've kind of recommended using the glazing method. The base colour that I've used, which I haven't shown the paint of here, is it's a MIG ammo paint. It's the acrylic colour, and it is AMIG 0019, which is full BO Russian green, which I understand is the basic colour that most of the Russian tanks were painted in that era. So I haven't shown you the full sort of painting process here because I really did take my time with it and made sure it was nice and sort of even. So what you're seeing here is another layer where I'm sort of spraying it across and just trying to get some tonal variation. So I've added a little bit of white into this just to counteract the base coat that I put in the first place. And then what I did was I started going around some of the upper areas and started putting in some highlights and some more obvious variations. So around the bow gun even, around the front, and then you can see there on top on the radiator covers I've tried to put some obvious sort of bleaching and other effects in. So once the base coat was down, I've got the turret attached, made sure everything was fitting okay, and off camera what I've done is I've put in a sort of a satin varnish coat down just before I started doing some weathering and stuff. So happy so far, seem to be going together really well, enjoying it. And then I decided to do a bit of sort of manual chipping, so I'm using some dark sand to start with and just basically doing like a bit of sponge work, just some random tabs with a bit of sponge, so a bit like dry brushing, getting all the vast majority of the paint off the sponge itself, and then just dabbing it onto the hull of the tank at random places or places where you think are going to be heavily used or footfall or chips or whatever, and just work my way around and just made it up as I went along really. Again, I've watched quite a few videos online for different people using this technique, and it seemed to be quite effective. And I thought it would actually be a good bit of experience for myself because there's more to it than just using chipping fluid and things like that. So once I've got the main sort of random sort of dabs on, then using a very fine brush just to join up some of the bigger sort of dabs, just to add that little bit of extra detail. And then once that dark sand colour was done, using a bit of German grey and a little bit of white to then sort of touch onto those sand areas and just give it a bit of depth. It gives it more of like a 3D look. If it looks like the metal's poking through the paint at the bottom. So added those on, went again around all the marks, just doing it manually. If I wasn't happy with it, just wiped it off and sort of did it again, and then sort of trying to picture where the heavy wear would be. So I'm putting chips on the side as if it's taking a few rifle rounds or something like that, and around the edge of the hatch you can see at the top and at the front where you think people are going to be climbing in and out. And then I used AK Rust Streaks, which is effectively a wash, I guess, and I've just then dabbed this over the yellow and the grey base, put little touches over there, and then using some white spirit just sort of brushed them in, blended them in, just to give it a sort of an age chipping effect, and sort of more of a been there a while kind of look, if you like, and just again totally random, working around the entire thing. Put a few street marks there, which I came back and lightened later. I didn't leave it like that because all the handrails are going to go in there, and yeah, just continued around and just kept going until I was happy. And if anything looked too excessive, I just removed it. And then, like I say, I'd already put the satin coat down, so there was a few decals, but not many. Being somebody who's used to modelling aircraft, the fact that there was only 6 or 7 decals was wonderful, because it's my least favourite thing to do when I build models is putting decals on. I can't stand it. So just my standard process, same as most people, using Microsol and Microset, just pushing them down and then drying them off with a Q-tip or cotton wool bud, whatever you want to call it. So now just adding on the smaller parts of the hull. So there's handrails going on here. Obviously that troops on the side will be holding on to. People will be using it to access the turret. And there's sort of large ones to go around the side. And then once I've got those on, there's a few little hooks and things like that to attach to the top of the turret. but that was pretty much it. The turret hatch, you can see that I've got on there at the moment. I actually had to take that off later on to get the figure in, which you'll see. I'd glued it in, but I'd glued it just slightly in the wrong place, and I realised I should have put that in after I put the tank commander in, because you can see that I've left the hatch open for him. And here is another product that I've used for the first time for this build, and this is VMS matte varnish, which I picked up online, and again this one's been heavily recommended. I've had a few issues with some matte varnishes where there's a white residue and things like that that are sort of building up, and so I thought I'd give this stuff a go. It's straight out the bottle into the airbrush. It's quite sort of glutinous. You do need to whack up the air pressure a little bit, but it went down quite well. Gave it a little dust coat like I normally do, and then just followed the instructions on the bottle, and it said give it a full wet coat, which I did. And then it was on to these items here. So these are the wooden crates that go on the side of the tank. So I'm using an acrylic cream colour, like a buff colour. And then what I'm doing is I got this technique watching my friend's channel, LPGA Models. Check him out, and then I've got a link to his channel in the description. So put that cream colour down, and then I'm using Winsor & Newton oil paint, and you paint that on and leave it for a few minutes to dry, and then get a sort of a hard stipple brush and just brush lines and streaks into it to go for this wood effect. And again, I'm quite pleased with the effect that we got there. And like I say, this is from watching LPGA Models and watching how he did it, so I can highly recommend that channel as well. Really talented model builder. So yeah, crates done, get those on the side, and we're getting towards the end of the build now. Last few sort of details to go, which are mainly the tracks, and this is the bit I was dreading because I didn't know how this would go. So the tracks, as you can see there, are still attached to each other, but I've basically matte coated those. They've got a base coat on there of black Mr. Surfacer, and then I'm using a bit of dry brushing with a silver, and then track wash and track pigment, and then I'm using some earth pigment and some dirt pigment just to give the tracks a whole different blend of colours and stuff. So like I say, it's had the base coat on, and then it's a case of just dry brushing all of the inside of these track spikes that would hold on to the wheel and would be sort of stripped down. And I think the colour I'm using there is Tamiya steel colour. Once I've finished the dry brushing, what I want to do is to add a bit more sort of dirt in there. So this is Homebrew weathering powder, and it's just the basic black one. And you can see I've got tissue down now as well, because this is where I suspected everything was going to start getting a little bit messy. So I've just give everything a good dusting with that black sort of colour on the inside of the tracks. Now on the outside, I'm then using this track wash from AK, which is sort of an enamel track wash. So again here, this was just a case of using a flat brush and just painting it all over the tracks, getting all the nooks and crannies. And then when it's still wet, what I've done is I've then took some track pigment, some AK track pigment, and I've started to paint that on top as well, so that just gets soaked into the actual wash, and hopefully we'll add a few different colours and stuff. So again, it's just literally a case of whacking it all down and see how it goes. No great technique here, just getting the stuff on, and then I'm adding different dirts. As you can see, the two dirts, the earth and the dirt colours that I showed you, and just getting those in and adding more and more sort of different colours to the tracks. Now that the tracks have had all the pigments and weathering added on, you can see they've got that sort of deep, dirty, rusty colour there. So last thing I want to do is to do a bit of dry brushing on the parts of the track that would be hitting the ground, and would probably be sort of brushed, polished, shiny. So again, a steel colour and a bit of dry brushing, and then it was onto the mud. So what I did was I got some of this Vallejo texture mud and a little bit of Tamiya flat earth paint just to change the colour, and as you can see here, lovely stuff, all mixed up. And I gave it a test on one of my other sort of model kits that I was lying around that I always used for testing. And then it was a case of just going to town on the model. And like I say, I didn't want to go over the top. I didn't want it to look like it just been having a mud bath for a month. So just dabbing it on totally random with a stipple brush, and building up in little layers, and just making it obviously not look brushed on, make it look like it's been sort of accrued, acquired, accumulated, however you want to phrase it, and just dabbed it all over the model. And thoroughly enjoyable doing this. If not incredibly messy, it was a lot of good fun. So just got that all over the wheels, underneath the sort of rim of the tank that you can see there. So once I was finished with the mud, what I've got here is some AK Splatterfx dry mud. So just simple process, just getting a flat brush loaded with some of this, again it's almost like a paste, but sprinkle off, and using the toothpick just to sprinkle it on at random. But I had to get rid of some of the extra stuff to start with, like you can see here, because it is, you don't have too many huge sort of splodges all over the model, so it needs to be subtle. So yeah, just gone around, and this contrasts to the wet mud colour that was already on there, and just going at random, flicking mud all over it. And something else that I've done off camera is added little touches to the mud on the wheels with panel line accent, Tamiya's panel line accent brown. And that just gives certain parts of it like more of a wet effect that are still drying out. And then it was a case of getting the tracks fitted. So waited till everything was dry, glued the tracks together. I didn't melt them. I used super glue to melt them together, to bond them together. Sorry, and then just really carefully put them on the wheels. I was impressed with how strong that bond was, and I was fully expecting it to come away, and it didn't. So that was quite cool, but couldn't quite get that last sort of edge in. So brought up my trusty Tamiya paint mixer and sort of stabbed that into place to get the tracks on, and that was almost that. Just a few little sort of last few details to go. Made sure the wheels were still moving, just make sure everything was loose, because obviously I'd put all that mud on, and yeah, happy days. Was really pleased with the result. So now getting back to the Tank Commander figure, you can see here that I've started painting them, and what I've been using is this acrylic 96 from Humbrol, which is like an RAF uniform blue. The reason I've used that is I know the tank crews wore like a blue coverall set, but I didn't have the proper colour, so I've used this, and basically it was painted black with the white highlights, and then this is heavily diluted acrylic paint. So what you can see here is at least 6 or 7 layers that have already been painted on, and you can see how the darker areas are staying darker, the recesses and the higher areas are a little bit lighter. So just giving it that depth, that effect was what I was going for. And as you can see, it's just a case of keep adding really thin layers until till you got to the desired point, and I think in the end it was 12 or 13 layers, and then it was a case of doing, I think he did the belts next. He did his belt and his buckles and stuff like that, and then moved on to the face and gave it a sand colour as a base, and then I started adding flesh tones and darker flesh tones and reds and browns, and just adding in different colours and really thin diluted layers. So you can see here, like putting a dark patch down the side of his nose to give it a shadow effect. It looks way over the top. Looks like he's been through mud at his mate. But then this was all blended in, and then I put another coat of heavily thinned out sort of skin pigment on there. So I think there's basic flesh, sunny flesh, all sorts of different effects on there. And I went around the highlighted areas of the suit with touch-ups around the zips and the pockets and things like that, just again to give it that depth and give it that sort of that look of try and make it more realistic. And you can see here he's starting to look less yellow and more pink, and I've highlighted the nose and the chin and things like that. So like I say, this is a totally new experience for me, and I quite enjoyed doing it. It's very time consuming, but that was the final effect. And the final stage of getting the guy into the tank, and there you can see me knocking the hatch off, which I then had to repair. And this was the final sort of part of the build. This was the final result. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to show some more shots of the actual tank now in slightly better photographs. And thank you for checking out the channel. Thank you for coming back. Wishing everybody a happy new year, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks now. Bye.